know, certain conferences, meetings, events have been taking place not only in our hosting the ASEAN, but also, for example, the bicameral consultative mechanism with China on the dispute in the West Philippine Sea. So I will try to answer as much as possible two things: any clarification as to the instructions of the President to us, and number two, the general direction of the DFA. And then the secretaries, undersecretaries, and executive directors can answer specific questions if they can do so, because some of the details will still be either embargoed or confidential while it is in the negotiating phase. So without further ado, let me give the floor to you for any question.
Yeah.
Excellent. Something from you about the pronouncement of the President last Friday evening about Chinese President Xi threatening war if Philippines drills oil in the South China Sea. Can you confirm this, and how do you react to suggestions by Senior Justice Carpio that we take the issue to the United Nations?
Well, as I have committed to the Senate, both the majority and the minority, I've already called the Speaker asking for a courtesy call when I get back. I was trying to call my counterpart, Congresswoman Villarica, to also ask for a courtesy call, and I will also try to see Justice Carter when I get back. As I said, there are things that there are times when briefings will do good, and I'd like them to know the direction and maybe parts of the strategy, and to the extent that I can reveal with the authority of the President. Confident that after I brief the senators who are asking us to protest, I'm confident that their decision will change, or they will understand the context of the President's pronouncement. At this point in time, I'm not authorized to reveal what was discussed in the restricted meeting between President Xi Jinping and President Duterte. Denying the President will have his speech before he leaves for Moscow, and your counterparts can ask him there. What I'm saying is that, I'll give you an example, di ba? Pag sinabi ko, pare sapatos ko yan. Hindi, akin yan. Pare away tayo niyan pagka hindi tayo nagkasundo kung kanino. So, pwedeng interpretation mo, uy, aawayin ako ni Alan. Di ba? But that wasn't the context. The context is, paano natin pagkasunduan, how do we start the dialogue, no? So, having said that, peace, international and internal and external, national security and regional stability is part of the core belief and programs of President Duterte. This is his campaign promise. This is his goal as president. So the focus is on avoiding conflict as opposed to war. If you ask me why, that I can answer why I think the president stated those words. Because he was being barraged by comments of what he should do. Dapat may ganitong statement sa ASEAN. Dapat i-file mo to. Dapat ipadala mo yung Navy dito. And he has told us many, many times that he is committed to protecting our territorial integrity. He will protect every single inch of our territory. But trust him on how he will do it, how he will approach it, and the strategy. So, of course, if every day, for more than a week, you have people criticizing or telling him to do something else, he will have to give some kind of response, no? And in my view, it was consistent with his response before, in which he said, I do not want to go to war. Not because he's afraid of anyone, but because many people will suffer, not only in that area, but the whole Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, and the whole region. So while some people think in terms of months or years, what are we going to do ngayon na chairman tayo, what will we do next year, what will we do next month, the President is already thinking about the next generation. That's why you have the build, and that's why you have the bilateral consultative mechanism. No? This problem was brought before President Cory Aquino and Chairman Deng. But they saw it in their wisdom to postpone any decisions and wait for a wiser generation. I'm hoping we're a wiser generation and we can come up with a solution that will be within our Constitution, that will be in accordance with our laws, and that will be able to protect our territorial integrity. Having said that, expect the ups and downs, expect the arguments, expect people, and we welcome the critics. What I'm just saying is that you have to trust the captain of the ship. Hindi pwedeng maraming kapitan ng ship. When Secretary Del Rosario was at the helm, many disagreed with him. When I say many, I'm not saying most, I'm not saying it's one or two. I'm just saying within the department, within the cabinet, not everyone agreed. But nung nag-decision si President Aquino at may green light si Secretary Del Rosario, he did his best, and he is a patriot, to be able to move forward our claim. But we have a new captain of the ship, which is President Duterte. And the destination is the same. But how he wants to tread those waters are different. So the criticisms are welcome. No? But if it's to the extent of trying to let him change course and that will affect the results, expect him to continue the language that you've heard in the past few days and weeks. No? So let me stop there. Now, if he gives me authority to speak more on what happened in the meeting, then I will. But I can tell you it was a very frank discussion. The mutual respect could be felt, and the admiration of President Duterte to President Xi and President Xi to President Duterte. In fact, they would not be able to speak that frank with each other if there was no trust being developed. Now, are we saying that we will be naive dahil may trust? Hindi. That's why our negotiators, our ambassador who took the lead, and our executive director, Batong, will fight tooth and nail to protect our interests. No? And that's very clear.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Next question, please. Yes.
Secretary Joy Bumatay po from...
Sorry, malayo lang yung mic. Some of the technical help them para marinig. Iurong lang yung mic towards them. Sorry, Joy. Medyo, you can pull it down. Sorry, guys.
Good morning, Sir. Joy Bumatay po from PTV. You've mentioned earlier, sir, that you will prioritize improving the welfare of OFWs. Are we seeing the actualization po of the Department of OFWs this year? Kasi po, the past DFA chief did not agree with this particular proposal, saying that maduduplicate lang nito yung mga OFW agencies currently working on their concerns.
Lahat naman na naging labor chief at DFA chief, malang OFWs, iba lang ang kanilang approach. So in the Middle East, there was some discussion because may ilang concerns then yung Labor Department about creating a different department. But the President made it very clear that it is a campaign promise, he wants it pursued. So before I left the Senate, I filed a bill creating the Department of Foreign Employment, which is basically for OFWs. No? And even if that is put into place, we will still have the one-team approach. So, kahit isa ang departamento, kaso sa 1,000 ang departamento, pagdating sa missions natin abroad, we will have the one-team approach. So what I want to do now, while we're waiting for Congress, whether they'll act upon it or they'll amend it or they'll come out with some sort of compromise. What I want to do is strengthen the team here and abroad. No? So if the secretaries, undersecretaries going down can work together. In my travels as a senator, I've noticed minsan kulang lang sa informasyon eh. In Hong Kong, I asked them, nakakautang ba kayo sa SSS? Siguro mga 10 to 15 nagtaas ng kamay na hindi. Eh yung isa lang nagtaas ng kamay. Sabi niya, hindi nag-overtime pa nga yung SSS doon. Subukan nyo lang at kunin nyo lang yung guidelines. No? So, both of them might be right. No? Some of the groups might have attempted tapos hindi nagawa. Yung naman nadalian. No? So, there are ways to strengthen the team now. But definitely, legislation is welcome. And of course, more resources is also welcome. Hindi biro lalo sa malalayong lugar for our people to be posted there. Kasi para din silang OFW eh. Hindi naman lahat na isasama din yung pamilya nila abroad. And yung Foreign Service Act, provided for some room. For example, na once a year man lang makauwi yung ibang mga taga-DFA, no? Pero subject to the availability of funds. So alam niyo yung ibig sabihin nun? Ibig sabihin, hindi mangyayari kasi halos never available yung funds. No? So that's some things we're gonna work on.
Pero Secretary, do we have a timeline po ba? Kailan natin maipapangako? Because we know na sobrang dami mga OFWs na victimized, especially yung mga contract substitution. I focus on stories po kasi on OFWs and ang dami talagang nag-share sa akin ng stories and they really want this department to be pursued as soon as possible.
Well, to be fair to Secretary Bello, he's been on top of that. And Secretary Yasay and Secretary Manalo has been coordinating. No? Maybe what I can bring into the picture now is my relationship with the Senate and the House, and also the goodwill that the President brings in his trips and as chairman of the ASEAN. Meaning, if we can have better agreements, kasi the more the host country helps us, the easier then for us. No? Then maybe since we're younger and more adapt to social media, this week there will be some meetings with some people who are proposing a social media platform or maybe apps that can be used to assist our missions for better connection and quicker coordination with OFWs in distress. No? Parang pwede mo lagay yung mic dito para hindi siya mahirapan. Pwede mo ilagay yung mic para dito sa mismo. Sa may microphone na to, may mic din. Parang hindi kayo mahirapan. Alam niyo, mahal ko yung mga mic eh. So we'll report and we'll do our best, no? But we're going to assess and then we're going to have regular meetings with the OFW groups. Now the question lang yung proposal ng iba na magkaroon ng town hall. I have to consult the ambassadors permission because hindi pareho sa lahat ng bansa.
Thank you, Secretary. Next question, please. Yes.
Hindi na siguro malakas na ng boses ko.
No. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary. Thank you for mentioning the passport this morning. And as you promised last week, you told us that you will get back to us as soon as you hear your people about the contract between the DFA and APO. And my question leads to that because this is an issue that's just waiting to explode. It involves about a multi-billion contract with another company, which is a private institution. I think the name is UJET, if I'm not mistaken. And again, I will repeat the question as to what have you gathered so far in as far as this contract, which Malacanang has called as invalid, and your predecessor has called it even more, he called it as a golden parachute for the last administration.
Let me try to answer your question as much as I can without preempting the assessment or evaluation, or if I can call it investigation. There are two issues. under the present contract, paano natin mapapabilis ang pag-process ng passport? So, I've called a friend who's an urban planner and asked him to look at Asiana at tignan lang yung flow. Inspection namin ni ASEC Frank, napansin din namin na although meron mga nag-a-assist, ang problema, hindi rin very clear yung whether it's their ID or yung pwesto nila. So, ASEC Frank is looking for an area na kitang-kita ng mga tao. I'll give you a specific example, di ba? Yung isa may kamag-anak siya dun sa courtesy lane. Ang rule ng DFA, pagka may kamag-anak ka sa courtesy lane, hindi ka pwedeng pumila doon. Di ba? Kasi tama naman yun dahil baka mag-take advantage yung iba. But she was also an OFW na may time na kung kailan umalis. And there's a separate lane for them. So just by ushering her to the proper line, magdi-decongest. Ang daming ganon no? So third is the number of machines. No? So I was informed that we still have money with DBM. I was informed that we have, tama ba, as 15 no, sa mobile, 50 million po sa DBM, but yung sa ating mobile, we have 15 machines. No? And each machine, theoretically, optimal niya is 60 a day na ma-process, but pwede umabot ng 80. So in the talks of ASEC Frank and Attorney Sara, I asked her to join in talking to Apo and sila na bahala kung pati yung ka-joint venture nila kasama. I'm asking them for a plan. Ilan machine ang idadagdag nyo, saan i-deploy yan, paano nyo mapapabilis. We are preparing an assessment form to be sent to all of our missions because I want to find out sa bawat mission, ilan araw, ilan linggo, ilan buwan, bago yung passport bumalik. So, I know that wasn't your question, but that's one half of the battle. The other half of the battle is the legality of the contract. So, I got the side of DFA, but correct me if I'm wrong, ASEC Frank, ang MOA natin is with Apo. It is Apo who went into a joint venture with a private entity. That's why Malacanang ang nag-review. So I will be traveling with some of the secretaries involved and will be talking to them. I was on the phone yesterday with some of them and said na doon na tayo mag-usap sa aeroplano. I haven't seen the documents, I'm a lawyer, but I also don't want to preempt yung legal natin with my own opinion. So I'd like our own legal to have their own opinion and to see it. But I want to separate the two. But let me tell you this, ayokong ma-LTO tayo. Naalala niyo yung nangyari sa plaka at saka sa lisensya na the excuse is legitimate, meaning may problema sa supplier, may problema sa kontrata, but sinong nasaktan? Yung tao. Hindi nila makuha lisensya nila, hindi nila makuha plaka nila. So one of my concerns will be if the contract is found to be invalid or void, or if there's going to be a case. I haven't seen it so I don't know if may arbitration clause yon or kung mutually ang parties can get out of it. It depends on how the contract was crafted. No? But I will not allow people to suffer because may mali sa kontrata. How I'll be able to do that, give me a little bit more time. Pasensya ka na, installment muna ang report. Just because it was Friday when I inspected and it's Monday today. But when I get back, I'm ordering but nakikiusap din ako sa mga in charge under ASEC Frank to help him to come up with these solutions. But I'll report to you when we get there. Kasi by that time, as far as the legality of the contract, mapag-usapan.
That's the biggest concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. Next question, please.
Hi, sir. Good morning. I'm Ina Belong from CNET Philippines. I just want to clarify your statement earlier. Are you saying that the threat of war or supposed threat of war issued by the Chinese president is a pronouncement that we're not taking seriously enough for us to take action on it?
No, what I'm saying is that I'm not authorized to tell you or tell anyone as of now the exact conversation. but the conversation was very frank, but it was, there was mutual respect, there was mutual trust. And what I was saying is that you have to look at the context. The context was about conflict resolution. So the context was not threatening each other that we'll go to war. The context is how do we stabilize the region and how do we prevent conflict. No? So I can say one thing because the President already said it. No? Because the President wanted to start drilling, but it is a disputed area. And we don't want the other side, China, to start drilling there. That's why nga, meron mechanism na mag-usap. Because if one side does it unilaterally, magkaka-conflict. No? So, I cannot tell you the exact words, but I can tell you the tenor of yung usapan. The tenor of usapan was very friendly, very refreshing, and in fact, both sides went out of the meeting satisfied that the dialogue will produce results. No? Maybe I can pass kay Executive Director Ong just to give you, they'll give you the follow-up, but just for her to give you a sneak preview into the first or the inaugural of the consultative mechanism. Then you can have your follow-up.
Thank you, Paul Secretary. The bilateral consultation mechanism, or the BCM, it was held on the back of the OVOR conference, and after the two presidents met. So it was in that context that this inaugural meeting was held. In fact, the exchange was extremely frank and very, very friendly. The Chinese did go out of their way to create an environment where both sides would be conducive, no, to a very candid dialogue. So the BCM basically took its cue from the conversation of both presidents, which, as our good Secretary had indicated, set the tone for the BCM. Yung BCM po natin it had a very broad agenda, so everything was on the table. It was formatted in such a way that first we will talk about the issues between both sides, and second we would also talk about cooperation. As could be seen, no, in the conversation, both sides really had their own priorities. But as Secretary Cayetano said, the dialogue had to start somewhere. So this was where we both came from. Both sides set their own priorities and their own understanding of the situation. Again, taking off from the friendly dialogue of both presidents. And for the Philippines po, we were very happy with the conduct of the first BCM coming on the back of the talks on the framework on the COC. Because for us, bilateral and multilateral approaches are mutually reinforcing. So this is what I can say. Thanks.
So can I just say that, ulitin ko yung sinabi ko before na, we can't be so naive, but we can't also be so paranoid. If you review the history of China, marami silang boundary dispute dahil sa laki nila. And some of it were settled. And even when it comes to maritime disputes, Malaysia and Brunei was able to settle their disputes. And that's why nakikinabang na sila dun sa resources there. When Singapore decided to reclaim, may dispute din sila with Malaysia, but they found a way to resolve their dispute. So we're not being naive to think that just because there are dialogues, we will get everything we want. But we're not so paranoid as not to try, because no one knows the future, and no one knows, what evidence can be presented, what arguments can be presented, what arrangements can be made. But what we can commit to you is, number one, we will not give up, we will not compromise on our claims, and number two, we are working under the framework of the Philippine Constitution, international treaties, and our local laws. Yun ang dalawang guarantee ng DFA. Your follow-up?
A quick follow-up lang naman, sir. But you did mention earlier that you're optimistic of changing the minds of lawmakers calling for a protest. Tama po ba yung pagkaintindi ko? So, we will not be taking action on the...
To be fair to the lawmakers, ang sinabi nila, if ginawa yun, we should protest. So, ayaw ko rin sila pangunahan, but gusto ko lang silang mag-brief. Then, if they still feel like calling for us to issue a protest, that's their privilege, no? But right now, I cannot call them and tell them what happened because I don't have clearance from the President. Doon sila pag-usapan. And pag restricted, you know, ano yun classified. So, I cannot just reveal it. No? But I can say right now that because I was there, under my assessment, no, hindi nga protest eh. Nag-thank you nga yung dalawang grupo sa isa't isa that umabot sa ganong kaprangkahan yung usapan so that nga we can proceed forward. Diba? But walang bullying na nangyari. Alam mo, iba yung when you talk of conflict na may bullying na pag hindi mo to ginawa, hindi ganon eh. Yung context ng usapan is that any misstep by any of the parties. And we're not only talking about the Philippines and China. Remember, President Duterte is seriously working as chairman of the ASEAN this year. So he's also communicating the concerns of some of the members of the ASEAN, because China is also talking to the individual states under ASEAN.
Next question, please. Last two, so okay, last two questions, Simon.
Hinahanap naman nila. So hindi nyo consider na threat yun?
Sorry.
Threat, sorry.
I will not contradict the President's word. I'm just telling you that given the fact that I cannot tell you much, my interpretation in the meeting is that there was no bullying or pushing around, or it wasn't a threat in the sense na Pilipinas, pag hindi mo to ginawa, eto, or China, pag hindi mo to ginawa. It was more that the threat of conflict will always be there if we do not dialogue. And if there's no dialogue and there's no mechanism, and you have armed ships in the area from all over the world, you're creating a dangerous situation. But all throughout the Duterte administration, not only in this meeting, very clear that no one wants war.
Thank you. Last question.
Good morning, Secretary. My name is Philip Benson from Nikkei, the Japanese media group. Secretary, the President just disclosed what was supposed to be, I understand, a private conversation, and there's this very sensitive words such as war. How will this affect future talks between Manila and Beijing?
The last talk will bring President Duterte and President Xi's relationship to a new level. And they have also put together other mechanisms for cooperation and collaboration. For example, the DOST and Ministry of Science and Technology agreement of the of the Ministry of Science and Technology of China was signed in 1978. So actually 40 years next year. So China has already offered 4 areas of cooperation, and our DST people have already met with their Vice Minister for Science and Technology. Now. So let me say that the talks are producing results in the other aspects of our relationship. We continue to assure our other allies that there are no military alliances being formed. These are just the strengthening of bilateral relationships. Then lastly, it's really up to the two leaders. When there are talks, although may minsan plus yan di ba? So, pwedeng pag sinabing 4 eyes, dalawa lang. So, dalawa lang sila. Kahit may salamin ka, 4 eyes, dalawa lang sila. Sinabing plus 1, may kasama. So, pag sinabing restricted meeting plus 3 plus 1, yung may tatlo kang kasama, yung 1 is usually your note taker or your interpreter. So, none of the plus people are allowed to divulge unless they're given authority by their chief executive. But the two chief executives, meron silang understanding. That's why nga restricted at hindi yan open. So they can divulge that, di ba? But there are times, like now, that there are clarifications needed, di ba? Because it's being pictured that China will bully the rest of the claimants by using the word war, which, to be fair to them, and they can speak for themselves, no? But being in the meeting, as I described the meeting kanina, no? The meeting was all about conflict resolution, about managing the situation, about preventing missteps. And in the past, there's already preliminary and a temporary or a fishery agreement, and also agreement on ships or fishermen that are in distress in case of storms. No? So it's producing results. So kailangan lang ng clarification minsan-minsan. Remember, President Duterte speaks to the person in front of him. So kung eskwelahan yun, tinanong, siya kausap. Pag yung media, siya yung kausap. Of course, may implications yan dahil may media, so sa international. So sometimes, there need to be clarification. But to my knowledge, he was just responding to critics who were saying, ba't hindi ito gawin mo? Ba't hindi ka magpadala ng ship dyan? Ba't hindi ganito mo? Ganyan. So sagot niya, ano ba gusto niyo? Gera. Kasi kung gano'ng gagawin natin, gera. Kasi hindi naman niya option kung ano response ng iba no? And I cannot tell you what other countries, but it's not only talking about China. Marami ang nagte-claim doon. Ang claim natin intersects also with the claims of others. So, that's the reality there.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, colleagues from the media.
Thank you very much, guys. See you when we get